here at Pins and Patterns, I show you how you can sew your own clothes. And today I'm going to teach you how you can do the top that you saw in the intro for yourself. And there are different versions because I couldn't decide on one. So the one that you saw in the intro, that is sleeve option A. So no real sleeves, so they end a little bit above the shoulder point. And then there's sleeve option B, which is a short sleeve. And then you have sleeve option C, which is a long sleeve. And for all of these three different sleeve versions, you have different back necklines. So there's one version, it's called L for low. So it has a really low and really big neckline at the back. And then I also heard your voices at Instagram, so definitely go and check out to follow me there. So then you can give your opinion on the next patterns. And there I heard that you want to have a version where you can use a bra. So the option H for high, so it's a little bit higher back neckline. With this one you are able to wear a bra underneath. Yes, and you can combine all of these different versions. Last thing to notice, the top is constructed to have a outer fabric and a lining. And with that you do not see any seams, which I think looks really professional and neat and clean. But if you like a more simpler version where you basically have just one front piece and one back piece and no lining, this is of course also possible. I'll show you in a moment how. But let's get started with the proper one, so the lining and the outer one. Have fun, and if you have any questions, feel free to write them in the comments.
Okay, so let's get started. So first you will need the pattern. You can download it from our website, the link is in the description. This might take a little while because all the files are being zipped. And once the download is complete, you should have a zip folder containing 3 files. The first one is the pattern itself. So you have as we have different options. Here also the first 3 are the sleeve A, so no sleeve option. Then the third 3 are the pieces for the short sleeves, and the last are for the long sleeves. And then you decide which version you want to do, and you only need to print the specific pieces, the corresponding pieces. And on the end of the file, you have all the pieces for A0 if you want to use a projector. And then we have the layout plan. This one shows you how you need to place the different the patterns on the fabric. And below is for sleeve C, and the first one is sleeve A and B. And then we have also the instruction. And here I talk a little bit more in detail about different important information for the cutting, for the how you can choose your fabric, etc., etc. And if you do not want to watch the video, you have also a short description, written description for the assembling. Okay, then I would say let's get started. Yes, but first we need to cut out all the different pieces. And what I like to do is that I cut out the pieces and lay them on top of each other, more or less, or next to each other, so that I know which ones belong to which. And therefore the overview page is also very helpful. And then I glue everything together. And so you should have 2 pieces, a front piece and a back piece. And both of them we need to cut out on the fold, and we need both of them twice. And here I first folded, so I have 1 fold. And then again I fold the fabric again, and I do cut out the rest of the pieces. Really make sure that the fabric is laying flat on a floor. Yeah. And then this is the front piece, and we have also the back piece. I show you for the version with sleeves, but it's exactly the same if you have no sleeves or shorter sleeves. And then as a first step, we want to pin our front and back piece together on the shoulders. So here, really make sure to attach them correctly, pin everything. With sleeves, you have this little shoulder notch. If you have sleeve option A, then you do not have this little notch. You just have start and finish. And then sew them together. I use my overlock or my serger, but there's no need for this actually, because the seam is in the inside. So you can just use any elastic stitch on your sewing machine. You can check your manual which stitch is elastic. And then it should look like this. You have your front and back piece attached together at the shoulder seams. And this we need to do a second time for the other two pieces.
And now it's the perfect time to try on your shirt for the first time. So I would suggest pinning the side seams, or you can also sew them with a really big stitch length and no locking of the seam, because we need to reopen it. And then you just try it on and check the fit. And if you like the fit, then you can continue. And if not, then you can make alterations. For example, make it tighter or shorten the total length of your shirt. But you have to remember to do the alterations that you do on the piece that you try on, also on the second set, so on the lining, so that you have the exact same changes on the lining as well. And then we can continue.
Okay, now you have your two pieces and you place them on top of each other, right sides facing right sides. So you should see the seams. And now we are doing the neckline. And what I like to do is that I tie knots into the threads of the shoulder seams so that they really are placed on top of each other. And then we pin the whole neckline right side to right side together, and then we sew it together. And here again, I use my overlock, but you can use literally any elastic stitch on your sewing machine, as more or less every machine is a little bit different. Just check the stitches on your machine, try them out on a little test fabric, and yes, then go for it. You really do not need an overlock here. It's just that it's easier for me with my overlock, because my normal sewing machine isn't really working great with elastics. And then you can hide your overlock. If you use an overlock as well, you can hide your seam by placing it inside a needle, and then the needle inside the seam that you have just sewn, and then you can just cut off the rest of your thread, and you have a nice and neat overlock seam. This is how it should look by now. We give it a good press, and then we fold it, we open it, more or less, the seam that we've just sewn, and we want to fix the seam allowance. So here the seam allowance is pointing to the right side, and we also top stitch on a little bit on the right side of our seam. So here again, seam allowance facing to the right side, here to the right, and then we sew the seam allowance to the top, and we do it on the right side. This is also the let's say lining, so the inner side of your top. And then once everything is in place, you can also feel it in with your fingers if the seam allowance is still facing into the correct way. And with this, we ensure that the inner layer is not showing on the outside, and this is what gives the shirt the nice look, that on the outside you don't have any visible seams and it looks really neat and really clean. And we do this for the whole neckline, and then also give it a good press, and this is how it should look by now. On the inside you have the seam, and on the outside you don't see anything. Okay, the next step is that we want to close the side seams. We have two parts, so the bottom piece, or the back piece and the front piece, and they lay on top of each other, and the two inner layers, we can directly pin them as they are. So they are already facing right side to right side, and we pin everything together, and in the next step we're gonna sew it. And for the top layers, so the ones that are facing you, and this one needs to be connected with the right side on the back piece, or this time front piece, and this has to be flipped. So the one or the layer which is facing the desk needs to be connected with the layer which is facing you. So it kind of sounds a little bit complicated when I explain it, but I think when you have your shirt in front of you, it makes a lot more sense. So you have to pin right side on right side together. For the inner two parts, it's really easy. And for the outer two, you have to kind of flip them. So you have right side on right side. And what I normally do before I sew it, I check. So here I just pinned everything. It looks good from the outside. It looks good from the inside. Nothing you shouldn't be able to see any seams. So here it's clean and on the inside it's clean. And if this is the case, then we can open it and sew the two seams or the two side seams separately, but sew them together. So the inner layer and the outer layer. Yes, this is how it should look. We don't see any open seams, so this is why, you also don't really need an overlock. And we do exactly the same steps on the other side. So again, the two inner layers, so you have 4 pieces of fabric in total. The inner layer you can just place right side on right side. They are already laying correctly. You can just pin them together all the way. And I think here you can see it a little bit better. For the outer 2 pieces, you have to kind of flip them because you want to put the right side on the right side. So first, flip it, put the right side on the right side. Then I always fix it with a needle, and then you can continue with the rest. This is how it should look. You can also see again here the really neat finish. No seams visible, which I really like. And give it a good press, and then we have the 2 side seams as well. Now we just need to close the sleeves and the bottom, and therefore I first pin the 2 seams together. I start with the left sleeve, and I want here again right side on right side, but this is a little bit more complicated. So first I pin them together. This is wrong side to wrong side, and then I go into the, I think back layer is it in this case, so go inside one layer of the shirt and grab the one that you just pinned and pull it through, and then we see we have just attached wrong side to wrong side. I remove the pin and I flip it so that the right side is facing the right side, and then I pin everything again together. This is why I started on the seam, so that I exactly know what to, where it belongs. And then we want to do this for the whole sleeve. It's a little bit, you have to like move the sleeve, and you can't really see like all of your seam then at once, or all of your pins at once, but that's okay. So it's a little bit pulling slightly and then pinning again, and pulling a little bit and pinning. But you have to do this all around, and then we sew it together. Perfect. This is how it should look. Give it a good press, and then turn it inside out again through the hole at the bottom of the end of the shirt, and then it should look like this. So you have a really neat finish of your sleeve. You don't see any seams. Everything is hidden, and we do the exact same thing for the right side, or for the other sleeve. And here again, you see both sleeves are finished in a pretty way. And then the last step is to close the hem. And here we are doing more or less the same thing. We are placing we are starting at one seam, at the side seam, and then we pull them, we pull and replace them right side on right side again, so that right side is facing right side, and then we pin all the way around the shirt. Here we need to let a little opening so that we can turn the shirt. Yes, so you see I have a little hole, 5-6 centimeters more or less. The bigger it is, the easier is the turning, but also if it's a bigger hole, then you need to close a bigger seam, so it's always a trade-off. And then you pull your whole shirt through this little seam, through this opening, and then the last step is that we need to close this opening, and you can either just top stitch it with your sewing machine, or here I show you how you can do it by hand with a blind hem. And therefore you put thread on your needle, and then you insert your needle. For example, you start on the right side and you have your needle inside of your right side, and then you do a few centimeters, and when you go out, you directly go into the left side. You do this a few times, and you can pull your thread, and I always have enough thread at the end so that I can tie a knot at the end. And then again, you directly insert your needle on the other side, a few millimeters, then go out again, directly go into the other side, and so on and so on. And when you do this all the way up, and then I also do all the way down, and then you basically have a really nice seam. Okay, now we are looking on how you can sew sleeve option C, and the first part is identical, so that here you have to watch the video until minute 9:15. And now we attach the sleeve to our main part, and here we put the sleeve right side on right side in our armhole, but we just pin it to the outer layer, not to the lining. So we just have one piece of fabric that we are pinning here, and then we sew the sleeve on the armhole. Then it looks like this. And now we are using the burrito method to do the finish of the armhole. And therefore we roll the sleeve in, and now we have here the shoulder seam of the outer part, and we want to connect it with the shoulder seam of the lining, but we need to put all the rest of the shirt in between. So here we place the shoulder seams right side on right side of the lining and the main fabric. And then we pin the rest of the armhole. Oh, and I think you've noticed by now, but I used a mini version of the top. So yeah, that I think it's easier to show everything. And here for the burrito method, it's really important that you check that you do not by accident pin and sew a thing of the rest of the shirt, so something from the inside. It really should only be 2 layers, the outer part and the inner part. And on the outer part, of course, you already have the sleeve. Then you sew it, and then you can turn the top again, and then all the magic happens. So you have on the inside also a fresh seam. So here again, a clean seam, clean finish. Here's the outside. This obviously looked good. And on the inside now, the top is closed and the sleeve is inside. The next step is that we close the sleeve itself, so right side on right side, and then we just pin and sew the sleeve together. It should look like this, and then we can turn the sleeve, and we have a closed sleeve, which is nice. And the next step is that we want to close the side seam. Yes, once we have arranged everything properly, we want to close the side seam, and therefore we take the outer layer, so the back piece outer layer and the front piece outer layer, and we put it together. And then we pin everything together all the way to the inner part. We pin everything together, and then we sew, but really important here, on the lining, we let a hole of, 8 centimeters to be able to turn it. I didn't leave it here, but this was also only a prototype. Really important, let a little hole to be able to turn it later. And then you have a perfect sleeve. It's inside, you don't see any raw edges, obviously only in the sleeve because the sleeve is not doubled, but not in the main fabric, main body piece. And then you have to do the same for the second sleeve. And then we just have to do the hem on the sleeves and on the main part. And you can either just fold it over once and then top stitch it, or you fold it over twice if you really do not want any raw edges here. And for the hem, you also again take the, for example, the side seam, and then you take right side on right side, and you want to put it together, so you pull it out, and then you have to tangle up all your things and put it together, right side on right side, and then pin all the way around the shirt and sew everything. And then you can turn it through the hole that you have let in the side seam, and then you're finished. Okay, and as promised in the beginning, I also show you how to do the simple version without a lining. And therefore you just place the front piece on top of the back piece, right sides together, and you close the shoulder seams with a normal stitch. Should be an elastic stitch, of course. So either a zigzag or any other elastic stitch. And then also the side seams, make sure to align the notches. And when you've also closed the side seams, then we are doing the neckline, and here you can basically do any hem that you prefer. I folded the neckline 1 centimeter towards the wrong side, and then I just sewed it in place. But you can also fold it double. Just remember it's 1 centimeter seam allowance, so for me it looks like this. And then you have to do the exact same thing for the armholes and for the hem. And that's basically it. Then you have a pretty quick and simple version with just 1 layer. Congratulations, you have finished your shirt. I have one last recommendation for you, because I have, I think, 10 or 11 versions of this top at home, because I really put a lot of effort into finding the perfect fit so that it's really super comfortable. But because of the big neckline that we have at the back, it might be that it's not feeling as comfortable as, for example, this t-shirt does feel. So what I like to do is I use fashion tape, which is a normal tape more or less, which you can just place on your skin, like a double-sided tape more or less. And I put it exactly more or less here at the back part of my shoulder, and to keep the top in place. And then if you are a night out and you can dance the whole night and nothing moves, or you don't have to zipple again and make everything in place again. So this is my recommendation, and then enjoy your shirt. You did an amazing job. And if you liked the video, I would be really happy about a thumbs up, or if you hit the bell on the channel so that you don't miss any new videos or updates.